Yo, we're back. We're going to be doing UFC 275 full card breakdown and predictions today, which is a really awesome card, man. We got two title fights. We got the rematch from the fight of the year from 2020. Glover Teixeira in the main event, who's one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, taking on Prochazka, one of the most fun action fighters to watch, even though he only has two UFC fights so far. We got arguably, three of the, maybe even four of the top 10 pound for pound female fighters in the world in the other two fights, with the rematch, like I said, of the fight of the year from 2020 with Joanna and Weili Zhang, and then Valentina Shevchenko defending her belt against Tyla Santos, who's a pretty legit contender. But before we get into that, I just want to give a big shout out to the sponsor for this video, which is cashflowmma.com. If you haven't checked them out yet, they're really easy to find. You just got to go to cashflowmma.com, and you could sign up there, look at their packages, and you could some of their bets here from last week, which they did very well last week. They hit on this parlay here with Aaron Blanchfield and Alonzo Menaville versus Askar Mazarov to not go the distance. They also were correct here with this parlay with Aaron Blanchfield plus Ivan Erslan, who's a KSW fighter. And they also had a nice little straight bet here on Alexander Volkov, where you didn't have to sweat that win for very long. So they've been on a roll for the whole year. They've definitely been one of the best MMA handicappers of 2022. So my recommendation, I would definitely recommend getting as much information as you can and checking out cashflowmma.com, joining and, getting some of the good bets, good information they give you. They get good breakdowns for you as well, not just the bets. So you kind of get a little bit of a reasoning why they're doing the plays that they do, and they hit at a good rate. So definitely cashflowmma.com and Cashflow are great handicappers for the sport of MMA. So check them out. And then right before we get started on the breakdowns, I just wanted to say, we are coming off another really good week on the Patreon. We won over 9 units last week. So we've been killing it this year, man, so far, and hopefully we can continue. I had the goal this year of trying to win over 100 units, and we're up to, I believe, 52 units on the year. I think a little bit more than that. I'd have to go double check, but so we're right on track, and hopefully we could, get that 100 unit goal. That'd be awesome. So everyone on the Patreon, they've been cashing in lately, and been getting some good information, some different information on some different fight cards. So if you want to, get a look into the bets that I have for UFC 275, which I already have 11 bets available. And, there's some other events. There's this Road to the UFC, which is kind of like the Asian Contender Series this week on UFC Fight Pass, which I'll be looking into. They got a Cage Warriors this week. So there's some other MMA coming up this week. And then, obviously, we got the PFL in full effect. Bellator is going to be coming back. So always some interesting stuff over there, and I do break down those other promotions on the Patreon, so definitely recommend you checking that out. I also want to say this week I am going to be doing a giveaway for this video. If this video gets to 200 likes, and so if it gets to 200 likes, then the person that comments down below, the way I'm going to do it is, if you think the fight's going to end inside the distance in the main event with Glover Teixeira and Prochazka, just tell me the exact time you think it's going to finish, like first round, 2 minutes and 5 seconds, or whatever you think is the exact time in your head you think the fight's going to finish. Put that down in the comments, and whoever is the closest, if the fight gets finished, is going to be the winner. If you think it's going to be a decision, put decision, and then put down the total significant strikes for the fighter that you think is going to be the winner. And if the fight goes to decision and you pick that, then you'll be the winner. But the giveaway is either going to be, I'm going to be giving away either $25 to the winner or a $25 free bet for next week. So whichever one you guys want to do, if you guys want me to place a bet for you, it will be at Westgate Sportsbook, and send you the slip and show you what the MMA bet is for the $25 and try to win more money, and then I'll send you your winnings. Or if you want to just take the $25, whichever one you would like to do, it is up to you, but just the winner has to let me know. But the video has to get 200 likes for this to happen, and then everyone that puts their comment down below will be eligible to win. But yeah, guys, so hopefully we can get this up to 200 likes, and someone could get that free bet or the free $25. But let's get into this first fight of the night. Here we got Jocelyn Edwards taking on Ramona Pascual, and This is a pretty interesting fight. Edwards hasn't fought in quite a while. She's 26, so she's a little bit younger, and she could have improved. I do think that she has potential, but I do think they're kind of trying to set up Pascual to get the victory here because they're bringing in a girl up from 125 pounds. She, I believe, fought 135 her last fight against Jessica Rose Clark, but that was another girl that has kind of bounced around at the lighter weight classes as well. And now she's facing a girl that has fought at 145 for the majority of her career, and Ramona Pascual is going to have a pretty big size advantage. And the one thing that we've seen with Jocelyn Edwards through her UFC career, even in her victory, and even before the UFC, like when she fought Sarah Alpar for the LFA title, she has real trouble with grapplers, with stuff and takedowns. She has very bad takedown defense, and even though she has decent scrambling ability and submissions off her back against superior grapplers, you're not going to be able to usually do much off your back. You're going to get held down and get controlled, and that's what happened to Edwards in her last two fights. A lot of people, they fell in love with Edwards. They really liked her style because she is one of these girls that has power in her hands, and she's very aggressive. So she'll close the distance. She's fast. She'll throw some nice combinations. And I do think on the feet, she probably will give Pascual some issues with her speed. But in my opinion, Ramona Pascual, one thing that I like about this is that she is going to be fighting in Asia, which I think is a big thing for her. I mean, I've heard her talk about how she wants to bring awareness to Asian MMA for women and women fighting in Hong Kong and things like that. So I think she's going to have a little bit of extra motivation being in Singapore. And it's also going to be down at 135. So I think she's going to have to be in killer shape. And in her last fight, I feel like she showed some things. Even though she kind of got battered, dominated against Jocelyn Nunes, she showed good durability against a heavy hitter, really good heart and toughness. Even though she was getting beat up, she kept trying to get back in the fight. She, in my opinion, showed better kicks. And I already felt like Pascual had good knees in the clinch. She had a pretty good clinch game overall, and her grappling is solid. She has good takedowns, really good control on top. And I feel as if she's gotten better with her cardio, with her positioning. She used to kind of just go all out for the finish early on the ground. And you saw in a couple of her fights, like with Janae Harding and I believe another girl, where she kind of gassed herself and then lost the fight. But I feel as if she's kind of gotten past that at this stage in her career. She's moved to Syndicate MMA. She's training with some elite girls over there, really good coaches. She's going to have a smart game plan. They're no good. They're going to know to use the size, close the distance, get the fight in the clinch, and try to get the takedowns, get on top where you could control and go to work. And Pascal's good on top, man. She, in my opinion, is one of the better girls at finishing when she gets on top position. And I think she would have a chance if she gets on top and gets into side control or one of the positions that she likes to finish Edwards on the ground. But Edwards is one of these girls that's very explosive. And when she gets taken down, she kind of waits for you to mount her, get into a position where she could explode and get back up to her feet. But I don't feel like she has the composure yet. Like, even if she can survive on the ground a couple times, get back up, or, something like that, I don't think that she's going to be able to have the composure, to have the distance control, keep Pascual at the end of her shots, and beat her up. Even though she has the reach, I think that she is going to close the distance for Pascual. She's going to make it, a fight where she's going to maybe land some shots, but she's not going to have the experience to know, okay, I got to stay at distance and win this fight at range. She's going to close the distance, try to, get wild, hurt Pascual after she lands, and Pascual's going to take advantage of that, hold her against the cage, take her down. And I think that Ramona Pascual is going to get the job done here. I think that her winning inside the distance is a decent bet because it has a good value. And I think she's going to win here as the underdog. And we got another female fight here in the second fight of the night. And this one should be exciting. I definitely think that it's going to be a finish. So that's something that usually when you look at women's MMA, you wouldn't say a fight is probably going to get finished. But I feel like this fight has a high likelihood of not going to decision. We got Gomez Horace taking on Liang. And Savannah Gomez Horace, she's 0-2 so far in the UFC, and not really shown very much. I mean, she got dominated against Lupita Godinez in her first fight. And I guess I shouldn't say that. Her second fight, she did drop Vanessa Demopoulos, almost had her out of there, but Demopoulos was able to catch that armbar and finish Gomez in the first round. And at 37 years old, 2 losses in a row, I think that this is a make or break fight for her. She wants to stay in the UFC. She has to get the win, probably has to look impressive. And she's going to be taking on Liang, who's a Chinese fighter. She's going to be fighting over there in Singapore, which probably does benefit her. She doesn't have to travel quite as much, and she's going to be able to fight in front of a fan-friendly crowd for her, most likely. And Liang, I mean, she lost her first UFC fight, but man, she was in a very fun fight. It was like one of the best 1-2 round fights of the year last year, I would say. I mean, she was able to go in there, and I do think it amplified it because it was the first fight where they returned with fans, so the crowd was going crazy. But Liang really took it to her opponent. She dropped her early. She was able to get on top, get in some dominant positions on the ground, threaten some submissions, and her opponent kind of toughed it out and then was able to break her in the second round and finish Liang on the ground. But Liang showed good things. You know, she was able to show she's dangerous. She showed some power in her punches, and she also, you know, showed the ability to grapple that she's always shown in her career. And for Liang, you know, she is 25 years old, so she's significantly younger than Silvana Gomez-Juarez, 12 years younger. But she has a lot more fights. She has 24 fights, and she's very experienced for being at a young age. A lot of these Asian fighters, they start real young and they rack up a lot of fights, you know, before they're 25, 30, which I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, it's good for the experience level, but maybe sometimes it kind of, you know, wears on your mileage and you maybe can't last as long. But, you know, Liang, I think that this fight is pretty self-explanatory with Liang and Gomez-Juarez. I mean, Liang, she's long grappler. She's going to want to, you know, use her straight punches, close the gap, get in that clinch and get the fight to the ground. She'll pull guard if she has to. She really is, you know, go to the ground by all means necessary type of fighter. She doesn't really have the best striking. I mean, she has power in her 1-2s and she has length and speed. So she lands that, you know, 2 right on your chin. She could drop you like she did Ariane Carnelosi, but a lot of holes on the feet, very hittable. And Silvana Gomez-Juarez over time will definitely be the better striker. She has really good leg kicks. She's southpaw. She has a good jab, good 1-2. She has big power in her punches. And she actually is a pretty solid striker, very technical. She has pretty good speed and she has good fundamentals. So she has good basics on the feet, and a lot of the time that's what you need to win fights. And I think that she's going to have a chance to get that early knockout against Liang, but I don't think Liang has ever been finished by strikes, like knocked out on the feet or anything. A lot of times when she gets finished, she kind of gets exhausted and I don't want to say gives up, but gets stuck in a position on the ground and gets finished or kind of gets submitted. But she is good at kind of making the fight the type of fight that she wants, because she'll pull guard, she'll get real kinetic, she'll kind of just like attach you and pull you on top of her. And she has a decent double leg. She has decent takedowns as well. And she's dangerous on top and on bottom. She has good arm bars, good triangles. When she gets on top, she has good rear naked chokes and nice submissions from different positions on top. So Liang is going to be trying to get that submission. And man, I mean, this fight I think could go either way. It's just going to be, is Gomez going to be able to keep it on the feet and get the knockout, or is Liang going to be able to pull guard or hit the takedown on Gomez-Juarez? And I think if she does, she has a big chance to finish the fight, even with 1 takedown or 1 guard pull. So for me, I'm going to go with the younger girl, Liang, who I think could have maybe leveled up a little bit, maybe could have gotten a little bit better, who's, you know, fighting in her side of the world. And I think Gomez-Juarez, 37. One thing I would be, you know, thinking about maybe with her is how she's going to feel with that travel, how she's going to do the weight cut with flying over there. And she's on 2 losses. I think that Liang is just going to be able to get the submission. I don't trust Gomez's fight IQ. Like, maybe she'll drop Liang, fall to the ground, or Liang will pull guard and she'll follow her down there. And I think she's going to get caught in an armbar or triangle or get swept and get submitted. So give me Liang here by submission. I'll say first round submission. And this next fight's a bantamweight fight with Kyung Kang taking on Batgirl Danaa. And this should be an interesting fight. I mean, Kyung Kang, he hasn't been very active in recent years. He's coming back again off a long layoff, but he's always been a serviceable guy. He's very technical. He is pretty big for the weight and does a good job of trying to stay long, you know, being technical on the outside on the feet and then timing the takedowns. And he more has had trouble during his career with superior grapplers to him, like in his last fight with Hanayaya, where he actually had a lot of success on the feet. I mean, he hurt Hanayaya a couple times, but couldn't stop the takedown, got in some dumb scrambles, made some mistakes, and ended up costing himself the fight. I think that King sometimes has some issues with fight IQ and cardio. And I think guys that push the fight and make it a really rough fight can kind of get to him a little bit. And King, he wants to fight very technical, very clean. He wants to throw those straight punches on the outside, throw those round kicks. He wants to time his takedown, get on top, control. And he isn't necessarily the biggest finisher, but good point fighter, and he gets the job done. I do think his chin is a little bit questionable. Like if you watch his fight with Brandon Davis, he was kind of blinking a lot and making a lot of faces after he was getting hit. And I've seen him get hurt on the feet in the past. I think he does struggle a little bit with power hitters, guys with good boxing. And that's what Batgirl Danaa kind of has. Batgirl Danaa, he has that real nice check hook. He throws with heat with the overhands and has real nice power, good speed in and out, and good counter striker. Sometimes he could be a little bit low volume, and sometimes he could struggle with guys that are good movers. Like his last fight, he got caught chasing Chris Gutierrez, and Gutierrez ran him into a spinning elbow, knocked him out. So that's one thing I am a little bit worried about with Batgirl Danaa is he is coming back, I believe, 2-3 months after that knockout. So not taking a lot of time to recuperate that chin. But with this matchup, Kyung has never been known as like a big power hitter. So I don't think that the risk of him getting knocked out is that severe. And Danaa, sometimes you'll try to mix in, some defensive wrestling and things like that. Like he could defend takedowns and get on top, but he's not really like an offensive wrestler. In this fight, I think he's going to have his defensive grappling on point. Like he's going to have to really defend the takedowns, try to counter with the uppercuts, and make Kyung not want to try to take him down. And Kang's going to want to try to get on top, get Batgirl Danaa tired, get some excess juice in those arms and not let him punch as hard, and kind of just slow him down all around and just point fight him. But I don't know. It's a tough one for me. Like I've seen Kyung struggle against explosive guys early. Like he got dropped or rocked by Guido Canetti. I can't remember, but I just feel like eventually these long layoffs, these, almost 35 years old at this point, I think that are going to come back to bite King. And I'm going to go Batgirl Danaa by first round knockout in this one. This is one of these fights that I think could go either way. I'm not extremely confident on either side. I think it's a close fight, but Batgirl Danaa, I'll say, gets the first round KO, which has kind of been his MO when he wins in the UFC. And up next here, we got a guy that's jumped onto the radar in the UFC with Andre Fiallo, and he's going to be taking on a veteran of the UFC at this point in Jake Matthews. It's interesting. I mean, you wouldn't think Jake Matthews is younger, only 27, to Fiallo's 28, who just got in the UFC. But Jake Matthews, entered the UFC when he was really young. He's had a lot of UFC fights at this point. Andre Fiallo, this is going to be his fourth UFC fight. He's won 2 fights in a row by first round knockout. After his last knockout, he called for this fight this fight date. So he got what he wanted. He's fighting like 2-3 weeks. I think 3-4 weeks actually later than the last time he fought, so he's coming back really quickly. And yeah, he's very confident right now. He's coming off that very easy knockout over Cameron Van Camp, who was a short notice opponent. And I think that this is definitely a much more suitable guy, more close to his level with Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews, we all kind of know his style. He's a explosive, athletic guy. On the feet, he has good movement, and he's fast. He likes to kind of move around and then pull guys into those big, crazy hooks and overhands that he throws. He has good power, and I think that his movement and speed are going to give Fiallo some issues. He just can't overextend and get in bad positions because Andre Fiallo is one of those guys that'll make you pay with beautiful check hooks, with great straight punches. He's a very, very, very technical, nice striker. Very fun to watch. And I feel like Fiallo has really good hands. Like, he has great timing, and he's just very, very sharp, and he has power. So he's dangerous. I mean, anytime you fight a guy that can counter you and put you out with one shot, you got to be on your P's and Q's for the entire fight. But one thing about Jake Matthews is the guy has shown a great chin in his career. He's taken some big shots. I have never really seen him get dropped and rocked and hurt really badly in any of his fights. He's never been knocked out. And I think that's going to help him in this one, maybe take some big shots if he has to. But I think Matthews is going to have a clear path to victory with this one, and that's going to be trying to get the takedowns, get on top, and go to work there. He is a black belt. I think he's a very underrated grappler. He has very good ground and pound, really good back takes. The guy has great submission ability on on top, and he's very strong physically for the division. I think he has great cardio when he can dominate. Sometimes when he becomes the nail, he can kind of get tired or discouraged, I think. But when he's the hammer, he definitely is a tough hammer. And in my opinion, Andre Fiallo, he has bad cardio, so that could be a differentiator in this fight, if you ask me. I think that Matthews, if he comes in here and can get a takedown early in the fight, in the first round, that's going to be big trouble for Fiallo, because I think that he's going to be able to probably control Fiallo, do some damage. He's probably going to be able to maybe even get the finish. But if he can't, I think that he's going to get Fiallo really tired, get him kind of second guessing himself. And I think Jake Matthews is getting a little bit undervalued in this spot. I mean, he went in there with Sean Brady in his last fight. He was top 5 guy, and he had some success. I mean, he hurt Brady on the feet a couple times, but just couldn't get the job done, got out grappled. And that's the majority of Jake Matthews' losses when you look at it. Like, he hasn't been able to dominate the grappling like Bojan Velichkovic was able to use his strength, control him when it gets clinch. Andrew Holbrook kind of used those funky leg attacks. And most recently, like Sean Brady, he was able to out-grapple him. Anthony Rocco Martin even caught him in a submission off a bad takedown, but that was off a lot of leg kicks. Fiallo, I haven't really seen him throw too many leg kicks. That could be, something that maybe he could try to do, but I don't necessarily think he's going to be that effective with it, and I think he's not going to be wanting to kick as much due to the threat of the takedown, whereas Rocco Martin was a black belt and didn't really have that fear. I feel like Fiallo is getting a little bit of a heavy price tag here because he's coming off those 2 knockout wins. He's coming off asking Dana White for this spot on the card and, being very verbose. And I think that kind of affects the line, affects how people see him, because I've seen a couple fights of him in LFA or fights where he fought grapplers where he got real tired and he didn't really show the best ground game, the best takedown defense. He is dangerous, like if you shoot in on him early, you have to be careful. He's going to be trying to land those power elbows to the side of the head and take you out. So I do think that Matthews, he has to be smart, time the takedown. Don't try to bomb rush him against the cage or do anything silly. Just move around, strike with him, time the takedown. And once you get the takedown, if you can't finish, I think it's going to open up his striking to land the big overhands and get Fiallo second guessing himself and getting on top. And I think that in the second or third round, Matthews could get the finish. So I'm going to go with Jake Matthews, and I'm fairly confident that he'll get the job done in this fight. And this next fight, this is another one that I think is going to be a really fun fight to watch. But in terms of predicting it, I think it is a little tough. I mean, we got Maheshate, who going to be making his UFC debut. He fought in the Contender Series, and obviously he's a Chinese prospect, and he's young. He's 22 years old. He's coming out of Embo Fight Club, which is a gym that has produced good guys like Zhu Rong, Sumandar Jir out of there. And, he doesn't have to travel too much, which is probably good for him. And I think that helps him with this being his UFC debut as well. He's going to have the crowd on his side. He's not going to have to travel 20 hours to fly to the US and things like that. And he's a good striker, and he's big for the weight. He's durable, good footwork, good movement. He looks like he's sturdy, good stance, good balance. And he moves in and out very well. He cuts the cage off. He likes to kick, feint, stay long, and then work the counter left hook, the counter straight right hand. He'll try to counter with elbows. And he's explosive. He's fast. He can close the distance with nice combinations fairly well. And he has good cardio, good aggression. When he sees his opponent start to wilt, he will turn it up. And he isn't a great kicker, but he'll mix in some front kicks. I've seen him throw some lead leg high kicks. And he defensively does a decent job of rolling with punches, blocking shots with his shoulder. but he doesn't move his head. He leaves his chin in the air, and fighters against Maheshate are going to have to take a shot to give a shot, get inside, and try to force a war, push Maheshate to the cage and try to get him to exchange there because his defense is not really good in those positions. He's at his best when he could, pot shot, move. I don't really think he has that top end power, but he has accuracy and he has good counters, and fighters have to respect him. And grappling, I don't really know. He looks strong. It looks like he has decent balance, but I've seen him held against the cage. I've seen him get taken down by more than one opponent. He doesn't look like he has the best grappling. On the ground, I've seen him held down. In his one loss, he did get grinded out by a wrestler. He does look like he has good ground and pound when he can get on top, but outside of that, I don't really know much about his grappling. For Steve Garcia, not really been very active in recent years, but he's a guy that early in his career showed a lot of promise. He was able to defeat a lot of really good guys. Like he beat Sean Bunch, he beat Ken Moore, he beat Ronnie Lawrence, he beat Andrew Whitney, he beat Jose Chepe Mariscal, and all that was before he even joined the UFC. So he had a pretty good resume even prior to being in the organization, and definitely didn't pad his record. And when he came in the UFC, he fought Luis Pena and just got out grappled, got his back taken basically for essentially that whole fight. Came back after almost 2 years away from the sport, and he fought Charlie Ontiveros, and he had a really fun fight with him. He went back and forth where he got dropped a couple times early, but was able to eventually take over the fight, break Ontiveros, and finish him. And he's a beast. He's a super fun fighter to watch. He comes to bang. He goes to war. He has big power. He's finished 9 of his 12 wins by knockout. He is big for the division as well. And he likes to feint a lot. He can switch stances. He likes to pressure. He's good at going to the body, then to the head with his combinations. He will rip, overhand rights, right uppercuts. And he does a good job like feinting with the lead hand to open those strikes up. And he pushes a crazy pace. He tries to make fights wars. On the inside, he has good elbows, good knees, nice left hooks, pretty good counter hooks in general. And he has good kicks on the outside, front kicks, round kicks. I do think he plays the power advantage in this fight, but he also showed that he can get hurt. I mean, he got dropped a few times against Ontiveros, and he got dropped that check hook specifically, which is a strike that Maheshate is really adept and likes to throw. And I think Maheshate, he got rocked as well in his fight. He got, stuck against the cage, but I think he's a little bit more durable than Garcia, I would say personally. Garcia, I think he's going to want to get on the inside, try to throw elbows, knees, short hooks, and overall Maheshate to make it a brawl. Leg kicks or something I think could be effective for Garcia on the outside, but he just has to be careful closing that distance with his hands down. And in his last fight, he did dust off his wrestling shoes. He got a few takedowns on Ontiveros, dominated him on top, finished the fight. And obviously in this fight, I think it would be smart for him to try to wrestle. But I don't really see him as a high-level grappler or anything like that. And I think that Maheshate probably be able to keep it standing and keep it a striking fight. So this fight, I think, is going to be kind of a first round finish, maybe second round finish. I think it'll be an early finish for either fighter. And I'm going to go with Maheshate to land that check hook, get the knockout with that, just because I saw Steve Garcia get dropped by that same strike a couple times, and I think Maheshate maybe could land that and put him out. So I'm going to go with Maheshate here. And we got another featherweight fight here. A lot of featherweights on this card, but Sungwoo Choi taking on Josh Culibao. And for Josh Culibao, I actually think he's an underrated fighter. He is pretty good everywhere. He fights out of a good gym, and I do think that Culibao is an underrated guy. One thing about Australians is they're very used to fighting in Asia as well, so I don't think it's going to be as big of a factor like I've been saying for some of the other foreign fighters for Culibao to go over there and perform well. But Culibao, so far in his UFC career, he lost his first fight to Jalen Turner. That was up a weight class against one of the biggest lightweights and a streaking lightweight at the moment. And then he has done well in his last 2 fights. I mean, he won his last fight, and his other fight against Charles Jourdain, which ended up being called a draw, I felt like he clearly won that fight. I don't know how they gave him gave Jourdain a 10-8 in the third round, but I thought Culibao was the rightful victor in that fight, so he could be undefeated at 145 in the UFC. And his opponent here, Sungwoo Choi, he's a South Korean fighter. He's a guy that has had success in the UFC. He was on a 3-fight win streak prior to his last fight where he got submitted against Alex Caceres. If he was to have won that fight against Caceres, he probably would have been ranked or close to the rankings. So he, was pretty close to moving up. And I do think that sometimes messes with the fighter mentally. I mean, like, he went from almost getting into top 15 big fights. Now he's fighting a relatively no-name guy in Josh Culibao. So we're going to have to see if he can get up and have the same kind of mentality and, want to prepare and be at his best on fight night for this one. But Sungwoo Choi, he had a good start against Caceres and just couldn't get the job done. So I do think that should be motivation for him to come in here and try to put a stamp on it and get the win against Culibao. But Josh Culibao, he's a good mover. He has good footwork, good feints, distance control, good speed. He has good lateral movement in particular. He pulls fighters into his front kicks, round kicks, fast crosses. He throws nice leg kicks. Good job attacking the body and then the head. He counter punches well. Good eyes, good composure. I like his head movement. And overall, he's a tough guy to hit. But he does hold his hands low. And relying on head movement can get you in trouble at times against a very sharp striker like Sungwoo Choi. I think it would be smart of Culibao to grapple early, try to blow up Choi's arms, and then, be on point defensively as well early in the fight. But Culibao, he's a good grappler. He has good body locks. He has solid timing on his takedowns. He does a good job of shooting the double, trying to circle to the back, and he has pretty good back control. One thing that's been a little bit of an issue for Culibao is he does sometimes shoot in and leave his neck out there, and I've seen him get reversed and kind of forced to his back with front chokes in multiple fights. But Culibao's good takedown defense usually, good balance, and he was able to beat a solid wrestler in his last fight. He has good cardio. He pushes the pace. And he's a slick striker. He has reactive takedowns, good top control, solid takedown defense. He's a pretty underrated fighter, if you ask me. Sungwoo Choi, he's a long-rangey striker. He has good technical skills, good power, speed, good 1-2s, good counter puncher. And he's just long in general. He catches fighters. They try to close the distance with the 1-2s, the 3-2s. He was able to knock out a tough guy in Julian Erosa early with the 3-2. He dropped Alex Caceres early in his last fight. And you'll throw some nice front kicks up the middle. He has more of that Muay Thai style, so he's more flat-footed, but he's constantly pressuring forward and trying to cut the cage off. But he does struggle against fighters with lateral movement that don't let themselves get stuck against the cage. He wants to sit down and throw heavy, so sticking and moving is shown to be effective against him, like when he fought Gavin Tucker. He doesn't really move his head, Choi, so he is hittable. He has a good chin, but he does walk into unnecessary shots. He got knocked out in 36 seconds in a fight he had in 2017. He is good in the clinch. He uses his length well, and he throws some nice elbows, nice knees. And Choi has good control, good takedowns along the cage. But he isn't really the best defensive wrestler. His takedown defense isn't the best. He tends to give his back to stand up. He's been submitted twice by Rudy Kachok. In the UFC, he's been submitted twice by Rudy Kachok, and he got dominated by Movsar Evloev, taken down a bunch in their fight as well. And I don't really get the line in this fight. I mean, Culibao's the one coming in with the momentum. He's coming in off arguably 2 wins, definitely 1 win. Choi is coming in here off of a submission loss. Choi, I feel like, is the less well-rounded guy. I think he's going to struggle with the footwork, and I think that Culibao's going to rely heavily on his jabs, his leg kicks. He's going to be able to time the takedown and get Choi a little bit tired, working to stand back up. The clinch, I think Choi is superior, but Culibao can hold his own there, and I will edge the fight to Culibao. I mean, he's never been knocked out. I think he could land more shots over 15 minutes, sticking and moving, mixing a takedown or two, and get the decision. Both fighters have good cardio. I don't really think either fighter will get far ahead of the other. I think it's going to be a close fight. And, I think Culibao's underrated. I think he's the fighter coming off a win. Choi got finished in his last fight. Culibao's fought in around a year. He trains at a good gym, and I think he could come in improved. He's the younger guy. And Troy, I think he's going to come in looking pretty much the same. So I definitely think that Culibao is a good pick here, and he has good odds. So give me Josh Culibao. And in this next fight, I don't really have a strong opinion on this fight. Jacob Malcoon's a guy that I've underestimated a little bit, and I do think that he's pretty good. Like, he has good boxing. Like, he's good at feigning with the lead hand to open up the rear hand, and he has fast hands, decent counters. But I don't really think he has big power, which could be trouble against a guy like Brendan Allen, who's willing to take shots, close the distance. And I think that Malcoon struggles off the back foot a little bit. You can back him up. You can kind of overwhelm him with combinations. He, in my opinion, likes to live in the clinch in a lot of his fights. And against Brendan Allen, that's one of Brendan's strongest positions. He has good knees. He does a good job of defending the takedowns there and getting on top. He, was able to finish Aaron Jeffrey in the clinch, who's notoriously a pretty good clinch fighter. He was able to drop Kyle Dawkins with multiple clinch knees. And he is the significantly bigger fighter here. I mean, he's going to have a big height advantage. And he's fought at 205. I think Malcoon could maybe even fight at 70s. So I think that Allen's going to be a lot bigger. I don't necessarily think that Malcoon's going to be able to beat him with boxing on the outside. Allen throws real nice kicks. And I think that those kicks are going to be an issue for Malcoon, especially with the height and range difference. And I think Allen, throws pretty good straight shots. He's improved his striking under Stanford, no doubt. And, I think also Malcoon doesn't have that top-end power where Brendan Allen, even though he's improved his striking, he's still defensively responsible. I don't think that Malcoon can make him pay for that badly. I don't think Malcoon's going to come in here and put on a wrestling clinic on Allen. And even if he does take him down, I don't think he's going to be able to hold him down. I think Allen is the superior grappler. So I think the line's probably right, and got to go with Brendan Allen in this one. But, I don't think he's a good bet at like 3-1. So ultimately probably a pass fight on the card. And continuing along here with this fight, we got Jack Della Maddalena taking on Ramazan Emeev. And this is a fight that I think a lot of people are going to be having a big lean towards Jack Della Maddalena and really picking him heavily. But to me, I think it's a very tough fight to predict. I mean, we haven't really seen Jack Della Maddalena against anyone on the level of Ramazan Emeev. We haven't seen him in there against anyone that is as good a grappler as Emeev. And, I don't know. I don't know how Della Maddalena is going to deal with that. With Emeev, he's a real low volume guy. He's kind of a boring style. He likes to counter with the left hook, and he does a really good job of that. I mean, that left hook counter is going to be there for him in this fight too, because Maddalena can get a little bit wild sometimes, and Emeev just catches you with that clean. And, Emeev has real good clinch control against the fence. He doesn't really have the best top control, but he can get takedowns and, get 3, 4, 5 takedowns in a fight and have good cardio. And in this fight, he's obviously going to be just trying to look for those, like, one-shot, two-shot counter combinations, and then trying to clinch or get the takedown. He has pretty good level changes, and it's going to be interesting to see if Maddalena can stuff the takedowns or stuff that clinch control or get back up to his feet when he does get taken down. But Jack Della, I do think he's shown pretty good get-ups, and another thing that he's shown primarily is his elite striking. He has really, really good boxing. He can switch stances and throws real tight combos, real sharp guy, high volume. He is able to overwhelm a lot of guys with the amount of volume that he throws. And he's getting a lot better at staying long, staying sharp. And in this fight, he's going to have a significant reach advantage, which I think is going to be a big factor in the fight. I think that he's going to be able to keep Emeev on the outside. I think Emeev is really going to struggle to close that distance at times. And if Jack Della stays smart, then he could just kind of pick him apart on the outside. I think Maddalena should try to mix in some leg kicks in this fight. We've seen Emeev does not check leg kicks, and he doesn't take them the best. So that's something I think that Jack Della Maddalena could exploit. But, I mean, this is a fight that I can't be confident in because, like I said, I haven't really seen Maddalena go up against any great grapplers. When he fought Angie Lusa, I think is a solid grappler, not even close to an Emeev level grappler, but he was able to control that third round, win the third round with grappling. I don't know if Jack Della maybe has a cardio issue later in the fight if they grapple heavy, but it's a tough one to call. I'm going to go with the younger guy that I think is going to throw more volume, be the better striker, and maybe edge it on the scorecard, so I'm going to go with Jack Della, but I think this is like a split decision fight. I wouldn't be shocked even if Amib dominated the fight. It's just not enough to really tell, but I think Jack Della, you know, he has a lot of heart. You could tell he's very motivated. He's a guy that takes his career super serious, and I think he'll be able to edge it and show the skills that we haven't seen, but kind of just guessing with that. So, gonna go Jack Della, but one of my lesser confident picks for sure. And in the flyweight division here on the main card, we got Rogerio Bontrain taking on Manel Starboy Kape. And this is another fight where I think the line is off. I mean, if I were to bet it, I definitely would bet on Bontrain. And Bontrain's a guy that I've been kind of underrating. You know, I went back and I watched that fight Brandon Royval, and, you know, I benefited from that because I bet on Royval. But, man, I thought that was a robbery. I really thought that Bontrain clearly won the first and the third rounds of that fight. But, yeah, you know, and even the second round, I don't know. I can't remember the rounds 100%, but I remember I thought 2 rounds Bontrain clearly won, and he might have been able to even win the other one. But Bontrain on the feet, he doesn't necessarily look like the most technical guy, but what he does is effective. I mean, he has this like kind of awkward head movement, and he's really good with it. Like, he's really good at kind of slipping and then coming over the top with a big hook, big overhand, and he was landing that counter overhand and counter hooks on Brandon Royval real clean, man. I mean, I was surprised at the amount of success that he had on the feet in that one. And, you know, obviously, Rogerio's bread and butter is getting the fight to the ground. He has high-level wrestling, or not high-level wrestling necessarily, but he has good wrestling, good strength, and then high-level jiu-jitsu. And, you know, he has pretty good timing on his takedowns. One thing about him that he does really effectively is catch kicks and get takedowns, and that's something that I think Manel Kape has to be aware of and holster those kicks for this fight. I bet you he's going to be trying to exploit, like whenever Manel comes in with a flying knee or something like that, he's going to try to close the gap, absorb the shot, and get the takedown. And yeah, so I mean, Bontrain, if he gets on top, he's a motherfucker to deal with. I mean, the guy has great back takes, great top control, and really, really hard to get up from under him. I think if he takes out Manel Kape, he'll probably be able to control him. And Manel Kape has struggled with guys that could take him down before. I mean, Bontrain is going to be looking to time the double. If he gets in the clinch, he has good strength to kind of just rip you to the ground. And he has good job of catching kicks and getting takedowns, getting opportunistic takedowns. So Manel Kape has to keep the distance, use his speed, be sharp. And Kape is the superior striker. I mean, the guy throws nice straight shots down the middle. He is very fast. If he gets on the inside, he can rip hook combinations. We saw that in his last fight where he put Zagat Sumagulov out with he threw like 15 punches in 5 seconds against the cage. It was awesome. And the guy, you know, is called Starboy for a reason, because you see some of his finishes. I mean, he got O'Day Osborne with a flying knee. His last fight, he got a brilliant finish. And when he gets the wins, I mean, the guy's fun to watch. He's stupendous. But, you know, he can be low volume at times. When he doesn't find that kill shot, it can be hard for him to win the decision. And he's a hard fighter to trust, in my opinion, because he can get taken down. Sometimes I feel like he could be more aggressive than he is in the fights, and he doesn't do it. So there's certain things that I don't like about Manel Kape, but there's obviously a lot of, you know, things that I do like about him, and a lot of them are intangible things, you know, things like his athleticism, his power, his confidence, his just, you know, because if he wasn't confident, he wouldn't be willing to throw those flying knees and all those crazy shots, and he wouldn't be as gung-ho looking for the knockout. But I just think he has to kind of reel everything in, you know, because he has good grappling as well, good jiu-jitsu. He could get decent takedowns. And I think if he's smart, you know, and he just is able to feint, close the distance, keep the range, use his speed in and out, he could eventually find that cross and get the knockout like Kai France did. But if he is very aggressive and wild and lets Bontrain get off the counters on the feet and get some takedowns, man, I mean, Bontrain could look like the favorite in the fight. So I'm going to go with Manel Kape. I just think that he has more potential, and if he puts it all together, he could get the knockout. But I'm not necessarily that confident in Manel Kape. I don't really trust him as a fighter, and I think Bontrain is a little bit more trustworthy. It's just, I think that athleticism and power is a little bit too tantalizing for me not to pick, man. So I'm going to go with Kape by decision or first round knockout. I'd be much more confident in him getting the win if he got the first round knockout than he going to decision. But gonna go with Manel Kape. And man, here we go. This isn't a title fight. This isn't a co-main event, a main event, but sure as fuck feels like one. I wish this fight was 5 rounds, man. I really do. And yeah, I remember the first fight, that was when Weili Zhang was really, really at the top of her powers. Everyone was all over her. She was coming off that real quick knockout victory over Jessica Andrade, I believe. And I remember I picked Joanna to win that fight, and ultimately, she didn't win. The judges gave the victory to Weili Zhang, so I was wrong. But, and I remember so many people acting like Joanna had no chance. She was going to get ran through in the first round, and she was going to get beat up and just destroyed by Weili Zhang, but not really how it played out, in my opinion. I mean, I honestly believe that headbutt that created the hematoma lost JJ the fight, man. I think if she didn't have that hematoma, I thought she won. I thought she clearly won the fight. She landed more in every round. I thought in the later rounds she was even landing the heavier shots. But yeah, the optics just didn't look good, and Weili was the champ at that time, and JJ was kind of, someone that a lot of people didn't feel like deserved the title shot and things like that, so maybe that played a factor. I don't know, but I felt like JJ won the first fight, honestly. I know maybe that sounds like I'm being a little bit sour with it, but I really did feel like she won that first fight, but obviously it was close, and the judges gave it to Zhang, so you can't really complain too hard. But since then, JJ hasn't fought, but JJ isn't that old. I mean, she's 30. I guess she is. She's almost 35 years old, but she's not like crazy older than Zhang. Zhang's almost 33, so they're similar ages. And I don't necessarily think the layoff for for JJ is that big a deal. I mean, she has fought in so many title fights. She is probably the most experienced strawweight in UFC history, and I feel like her taking some time off and coming back, that could be a positive for her. She could come back and be reinvigorated, and that's something that I do think that both of these girls have, is a little bit of reinvigoration themselves, seeing Carla Esparza get the title. Because, I mean, obviously styles make fights, and Rose Namajunas, she has that big glaring hole with the wrestling, and that was a big deal in that fight. But with Weili and Joanna, I think they'd both be pretty big favorites against Carla Esparza. So, yeah, so, I mean, I think they both have a lot to fight for. I think the winner could easily say, hey, give me this next title shot, and slip in there and win the belt. So it's, a lot of motivation for both girls, but I'm not buying that notion that JJ taking the layoff is going to be a reason for her to lose. I think that, the bigger deal is that Weili Zhang got knocked out and then lost a 5-round title fight, her last 2 fights. So she's lost 2 fights in a row, and she took a knockout loss. She took a lot of damage. None of that is good, in my opinion. I mean, I don't think that you could sit there and say, oh, yeah, I mean, I think it's better that Weili Zhang, she's been fighting more recently, even though she's got her ass whooped. I mean, I don't think you could kind of say that. I think JJ, sitting out is probably a little bit better than taking losses. But, yeah, I do think this fight being 3 rounds, this fight being in Asia, a lot of things kind of favor more towards the Weili Zhang side. But I'm going to go with JJ again, man. I just feel like she's too technical, too sharp on the feet. I think she's going to be able to just use her superior striking, and I don't see her getting taken down, even though Weili has worked with Henry Cejudo and those guys with Neuroforce 1 and everything like that. JJ has probably the best takedown defense in that division. She's proven it against, some of the elite wrestlers, and I don't see her getting taken down. I don't see Weili really coming in with the game plan to try to get a lot of takedowns and top control time anyways. When JJ fought Weili the first time, there wasn't really as much either out there on Weili, even though she had a lot of UFC fights. I think now you see certain things like that Weili struggles with, and I think JJ could take more advantage of that with the second fight. And I just feel like JJ, man, I mean, I think that she kind of got forgotten as like one of the best fighters in the world a few years ago, and people kind of wrote her off and kind of shit on her and started to act like maybe she wasn't at that level anymore. But I actually kind of feel like JJ's going to win this fight very easily, like 30-27, maybe 29-28. I think it'll be like a war. But I think JJ's going to be a little bit smarter, sharper in this fight. I think she's going to bring a lot more kicks, a lot more feints, and I think she's going to be a little bit less willing to brawl and, be in a fan-friendly fight. I think she's going to be a little bit more technical. Yeah, and I got to go with JJ, man. I mean, I picked her in the first fight. I thought she won the first fight. She's an underdog in this fight. I think that momentum-wise, if anything, JJ's riding the momentum, even though she's coming off a loss. She probably in her head thinks she won, thinks she had a great performance. Zhang, she's coming off 2 losses in a row. Even if she thought she won that second fight versus Rose, she did get knocked out. And, I don't think she could feel as comfortable as JJ coming into this one. So I'm going to go with JJ here. I think she's going to be able to, come in here and swag on her and get the win. So we go with JJ. I'll say 30-27, 29-28 decision. And now we got the co-main event here. We got the first of the 2 title fights with Valentina Shevchenko taking on Tyla Santos. And I've had a few people, hit me up this week and they're asking me, am I going to be going with Tyla? Because, I am a big Tyla fan. I picked her in all our UFC fights. I think I've even said I think that she could maybe compete for the title and things like that. And now she is. Obviously, I had that real nice pick with Juliana Pena over Amanda Nunes. And, a lot of people actually I've noticed putting bets or kind of saying Tyla Santos is a live dog for this one. So I think that certain people are kind of just trying to get my opinion and see, where I see the fight, obviously. But, at first I was kind of entertaining it. Like, I was like, yeah, I think Tyla could win. Maybe I'll bet on her and things like that. But I really looked into it a little bit more and, came away with a different opinion. I feel like Valentina is the rightful favorite and she's probably definitely going to win the fight because I watched a few of Tyla's fights. Like I watched her fight with Molly McCann, for instance. And what I noticed was she was getting hit with that left hook, man, over and over, that check hook. And that's like Valentina's one of her favorite punches. And Tyla also struggled a lot with the lateral movement of Molly McCann. Like Molly was moving around her using her foot speed and able to get in, get out, land these shots. And Tyla couldn't really corral her as good. Obviously, eventually with Molly, who isn't necessarily a girl that's known for her footwork and movement. She's more known for brawling. She, wasn't able to keep that footwork game going, and Tyla would cut her off, get her in the clinch and against the cage and take her down and dominate on top. But with Valentina, she can keep that movement all day. She could throw 2-3 shot combinations, get in, get out. She is going to have a great game plan. I think she's going to be on that footwork, never allow Tyla to back her up behind that black line and get her kind of that warning track close to the cage. I don't think she's going to be able to get in that position as often as she has against other girls. What Tyla does have, and, I think even against Valentina, is the strength edge, man. I think she is probably the strongest girl in the division. And if Tyla can get in her positions, like if she could back up Valentina, she is dangerous with those 1-2s and the 3-2s. She throws heat. And in the clinch, she's very good at controlling there. She has great body locks and very good top control. So obviously, I think Tyla's going to be looking to back up Valentina, clinch her against the cage, get her on the ground and get on top and just control the position, stall it out and win the decision there, or back her up, land some heavy punches and maybe try to knock out Valentina, which would be a major statement. But I think Valentina's going to be too slick on that movement. I think she's going to be able to use that check hook all day to create combinations off that. I also think that Valentina can control the clinch herself. I think she could push Tyla against the cage control there. We saw Romero Barella do that. And another thing that I noticed that I didn't really like from Tyla is she didn't look great off bottom. So I think if Valentina can get a takedown, she can maybe get in a crucifix or get in a dominant position and get the finish. I do think Tyla's going to be really tough. And I think she is one of the best challenges for Valentina because she's big. She's going to have the size advantage. She's athletic. She might even be more athletic than Valentina. She might be stronger. So, it's a nice matchup. It's, definitely better than a Lauren Murphy. But I think that Valentina will make it look dominant and probably get the finish if she can get it to the ground. So I'll say third, fourth round TKO in the crucifix for Valentina Shevchenko. And then last but not least, man, we got the main event. We got Glover Teixeira, the UFC light heavyweight champion. He's going to be defending his belt against Yuri Prochazka. And yeah, this is an epic fight right here. Glover Teixeira, he, defied the odds. His last fight, he came through, 42 years old, won the belt, and now he's looking at his first title defense, and he's going to be taking on a madman, a guy that only 2-0 in the UFC. He's definitely someone that has jumped on the scene really quickly. And when you look at kind of some of the recent fighters he's defeated, a lot of these guys are old. They're guys that are coming off losses. So kind of a questionable path to the title, in my opinion. But the way that he fights makes it so hard to deny him. I mean, he's just tantalizing. The guy is, light heavyweight Tony Ferguson type of guy. The guy closes the distance, takes damage, gets dropped, keeps coming forward, throwing elbows, throwing crazy amount of volume, and just blood and guts action fighter. He's only been around three, twice in his career, 3 times in his career. He's only been to 1 decision ever. So, I mean, he's one of these guys that he goes out there and he tries to kill you early. And most of the time he either dies trying or, he does it. I mean, which actually most of the time he does it, but a few of the times he died trying. But that's kind of the thing with Yuri Prochazka. He's one of these guys that I don't necessarily think is the most technical fighter. Even though he has really long arms, great speed, he's just a super athlete, and he could throw real nice combos and get real awkward and nice spins and things like that. Like the way he KO'd Reyes, those weird kind of shovel uppercuts he throws and things like that. But I don't think he's necessarily the most technical. His defense isn't good. I don't think he has great wrestling. I don't think he has the best composure. He's just a guy that you can't get wrapped up in that craziness with Yuri Prochazka. That's what he wants you to do. He basically wants you to hit him. He wants you to try to get in a brawl with him and get real wild. He wants you to forget about taking him down. When you do take him down, he gets back up to his feet. He's going to be right back in your face and trying to make you get into a war. And you can't let him pull you into that war, man. You have to stay technical. You have to use the jab. You have to use leg kicks. That's something that Yuri does not like, man. He does not like it taking leg kicks. But you have to be sharp, you have to be technical, and you have to time the takedowns on this guy, because Yuri gets taken down by almost everyone that he fights. If you go and look at his fights, I mean, Dom Reyes took him down, who's not really known for his wrestling, but if you go look at the guys that he fought on the regional scene in Ryzen, like Brandon Halsey, CB Dalloway, King Mo, Jay Kyung, Vadim Nemkov, Carl Albrechtsen. I mean, all these guys are taking him down, and he's able to wear them out, usually get them tired, and then finish them on the feet. And with Glover Teixeira, that's one thing that I'm not worried about at all. I don't think Glover's going to be getting tired. So, that's something I don't think Jerry could bank on, is Glover getting tired and then him coming back and finishing the fight. And Jerry does give his back to stand up. He gives a lot of bad positions up. And I think if he gives those positions to someone not totally washed, like a Brandon Halsey or CB Dalloway or something like that, I think that, they can maybe exploit it a little bit better and finish the fight. But, I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on Jerry, because obviously he could definitely win. I mean, the guy, his path to victory is going to be getting the knockout. I mean, that's what he is. He's super long. He's going to be throwing, in my opinion, probably trying to throw those rear uppercuts, straight punches down the middle. He's going to have the speed advantage, and he's going to want to catch Glover and, take him out. But, Glover Teixeira is a guy that's notoriously hard to finish. He has a good high guard. He closes the gap and throws nice hooks, counters himself. And I do think that if he lands clean on the feet, he could hurt Jerry as well. We've seen Jerry knocked out before. We've seen him rocked before in multiple fights. Both these UFC fights, he got wobbled. But, I mean, obviously, Glover is another guy that he's notorious for getting hurt, and somehow he turned getting hurt into a takedown 99% of the time. It's pretty wild. Gets hurt, automatically starts scrambling, gets on top, and can finish the fight. So, he's a freak of nature, too. I mean, both these guys are two of the best in the world, obviously, but I think Glover has proven it against way, way better opponents for a, way longer period of time. But, yeah, I mean, I just really don't understand the line on this fight at all. How could you line Jerry a 2-1 favorite? I mean, to me, it's like his path to victory is getting a first or second round knockout. If he gets taken down by Glover, which is very possible, Glover could dominate that fight, really slow him down and finish or take over. I think Glover has proven to be extremely durable. He's super confident right now. And with Jury, you know, a lot of guys, they get a little bit scared or kind of worried about what he's going to do and stay on the outside with him. But Glover's not going to do that, man. Glover is very smart. He's going to close the distance. He's going to be right in Jury's face where he doesn't have the range to throw those straight punches, throw the uppercuts. He's going to be aware of the spins, aware of the elbows, things like that Jury's going to be looking for. And I think that he's going to be able to get the takedown off of Jury's, you know, lack of composure and just lack of being in this moment before. I think he's going to be able to get on top, and I think he's going to be a significantly better grappler, take the back, and finish the fight. So I just don't really get why Glover is the underdog in this fight. I feel like he has passed a victory with his pressure and striking. I think he has passed a victory with pressure takedowns, getting Jury tired, submitting him, getting Jury tired. You know, somehow Jury gets back up to his feet or survives the round, and then Glover knocks him out in the next round, or, you know, has him severely compromised where he can't really be as dangerous anymore. And I think Jury's not going to be as wild and willing to close the distance and be so crazy and just open in this fight, because his last two fights, he had zero really fear of being taken down, even though he did get taken down by Dom Reyes. I don't think he was expecting it. Volkan didn't try to take him down at all. Glover's going to be looking to take him down the whole fight, and that's going to make a big difference. I honestly think Glover has beaten tougher guys style-wise. Like, I think Thiago Santos style-wise is a harder fight for Glover than Jury. He was able to beat Thiago Santos. I think that Anthony Smith style-wise is a tougher fight than Jury, just because they're, you know, I think Thiago hits harder than Jury, and he's probably a little bit more, you know, explosive and smart on how he sets up his shots, and he's not going to be as wild. But Jury, I think, is just going to be too wild, man. I think he's going to give up the takedown to Glover. I think he's not going to respect Glover enough, and I think Glover is going to show him, like, hey, man, these guys you've been fighting on the ground are not me, and I'm way better than that. I'm going to beat you up with this ground and pound. I'm going to take your back, and I'm going to finish you off. And I don't know. I think a lot of people are looking at it from a lens like, okay, he's significantly younger, and I think he's just going to take the belt from this guy with some explosive knockout early. But I don't really see that happening, man. I think Glover's going to win this fight. I'm fairly confident, honestly. I think that, you know, I've been really good with predicting Glover fights. I don't know if you guys have realized this, but since I believe every single fight that I predicted of his since when he fought Misha Serkinov, I think that was the first prediction that had his on the channel. Man, I mean, that was like 2017. It's been a while. Been doing these predictions now, but yeah, man. So, like, I predicted all the upset wins for Glover, and, you know, people say money doesn't grow on trees, man, but fuck, like, you've been betting on Glover Teixeira. It's been you know, accumulating your bait count pretty nicely. You know, he's been an underdog almost every time. 2-1 underdog in multiple fights. Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, Jan Blachowicz. Now he's almost 2-1 underdog again. So, yeah, man, I think Glover's going to come in excellent shape. He has Alex Pereira, who is training to fight someone, getting ready to spar with and throw those straight punches, the uppercuts, and, you know, show him a dangerous striker. And that guy is a better striker than Jury and more powerful. And I think Glover, you know, has fought guys that are heavier hitters, fought guys that are better grapplers, he's fought guys that are better strikers. And I think that's going to play out here. I think everyone's going to see that. And I think Glover's going to kind of pop the balloon on Jury a little bit. Not that Jury's going to, you know, fall in obscurity, but I think that just going to show, like, he beat Dominic Reyes, who was coming off 2 losses. He beat Volkan, who I don't necessarily rate as, like, a top 5 light heavyweight. And then all the other guys that he's beaten, like, are UFC washouts, or really old, or, like, guys that I don't really think are that great. And I think that Glover signifies, you know, a big step up. And I think that it's going to show that. I'm not saying that Jury can't get back to this position. And I do think that he's super fun to watch. I mean, the guy's, you know, 100% action fighter, which is the type of style that I like. But I just think this is a bad matchup for him, man. I think he's going to struggle with the takedown. Don't think he's going to fight a guy that's going to get tired or wilt under his pressure. And unless he just flatlines him, which Glover Teixeira has shown that, you know, that's extremely hard to do. The only guys that I believe have knocked him out were Alex Gustafsson in the 5th round, where Glover took a massive amount of punishment. And you watch that fight, Alex was super technical in that fight, running away from Glover, just keeping the center and being super smart, whereas I don't think that Jury has the composure to do that. And then by the hardest hitting light heavyweight in the history of the UFC, history of MMA, and Anthony Rumble Johnson, who caught him in less than 10 seconds and knocked him out. But Jury doesn't have that kind of power, in my opinion. Can Jury land an uppercut and knock him out, or a big strike? Yeah, obviously, but I got to go with Glover. I'm going to say he gets a first or second round submission win here and retains his title. So that's the full card breakdown for UFC 275. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. As far as the parlay of the week this week, I'm not going to do a parlay. It's just going to be a play of the week, and that's going to be on Glover Teixeira at plus 175. And my most confident pick, I'm going to go with Valentina Shevchenko. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you guys heard at the beginning of the video what I said. If this video gets to 200 likes and you put a comment down below for who you think is going to win the main event, the exact time you think the main event will be finished, you will win a $25 bet or $25 sent to you, whichever way you choose. And yeah, so if you get this video to 200 likes, put down below when you think the fight's going to be finished, who you think wins, or the decision and the amount of significant strikes landed by the winner. Then and you're the closest and the video has 200 likes, and you will receive the $25 free bet, or just $25 in general, whichever way you would like it. So let's try to get the winner of that, a round of applause, and get them their prize. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to check out the Patreon for the 11 bets and some other bets on other promotions, check that out. Besides that, I'll be back next week, and I'll talk to you guys later.